Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today I have an interesting video. I have something I need to admit. I've never actually used any kind of laptop cooler, laptop mat, or any accessories ever to help with the cooling of my machines. Either they never got that hot, or I just grinned and bear it. I never really had any interest in looking out for any sort of cooling solution, until I got an email from iPow asking me to take a look at their laptop cooler. And I kind of read through the email and I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. And I clicked the link and I looked at the pictures, and this thing just looked so over the top that I figured, you know what, if I'm going to talk about a laptop cooler, that's kind of the one that I would want to talk about, just because it seems so involved, so complex, so many different things going on with it that I just couldn't help it. So I agreed, they sent it, and here it is. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open up this box and see what we got. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. It is a 12 kinds of RGB modes, so of course it will have those colors everywhere. You either love it or you hate it. And yeah, this is it. It does claim to have 28 decibels maximum of volume. That's probably due to the fastest these fans will spin is 2,900 RPM, but there are 6 of them, so that's got to count for something. And as if you can't tell, this will actually accommodate a variety of sizes of laptops, probably up to 17 inches. They also advertise that it could cool consoles as well. If your console requires additional cooling, you might want to get that to a repair shop, because it should be just fine. They're designed to run the way that they're designed to run. A few other things to note is that it does have a stand, so you can tilt your machine at 7 different positions, which could be handy depending on your work at home setup. If we take a look at the box, we have the unit and a male-to-male cable, which I'm going to guess is probably what powers it. It is nice to see that it is braided. Realistically, I think all USB cables and computer cables should go the route of being braided. They're just much nicer. They tend to be a lot more durable. We have a user manual in here, and it says to read it before use, and it gives them some basic directions that, you know, fan speed up and down, RGB mode, power button, and the fans will either be on fan mode 0, 2, 3, or 4, and that has to do with which fans are turned on in which configurations, and then the fan speed level 1, 2, or 3. Just in case if you're wondering for the fan modes, fan mode 1 is 6 fans on, fan mode 2 is 3 fans on, fan mode 3 is 3 fans on, and then fan mode 4 is 4 fans on, so not the center ones. So the fans will operate essentially at 3 speeds, either 1900 RPM, 2500 RPM, or 2900 RPM. And that's indicated on this side of the LCD. So here is the unit itself, and we are looking at a metal grille with plastic construction. On the back, the feet and locking tabs here are made out of plastic, and they just rest into there, so it's not a locking mechanism or really a ratchet. You just kind of set it at whatever height you want. For the purposes of the video, I will use it on its highest position. And then we have the 2 USB ports on the top of the unit, and I presume one of those is where power goes in. And if you are using it, you will need to flip out these little kickstand feet here at the bottom, like so. Again, this is not metal construction, so keep in mind that those are only going to be able to hold so much weight. For the tests that we're going to be doing today, I figured I would use a known quantity in my collection that can get hot from time to time, and that is actually my X220. I'm going to undock it and place it here on those 2 little stands. And I'm going to take the included braided cable, which is just long enough that we should be able to plug it into one of the USB ports on the X220. So we've got the lights flashing there, and if I hit the power button on the bottom, we have it turn on here. And according To the instructions, it is operating on fan speed 2. Very, very quiet. Like, it is quiet. That I will, I will give it that. So if I take my microphone off, and that's it next to the fan. And that's max speed. That's medium. And that's low. Anyway, to test this, we're going to have to get a baseline. And I will be measuring the internal temperature of the computer using P sensor. Okay, so to test this out, we're hovering at about 50 degrees standard without any fans turned on, without it working too terribly hard. So one of the fastest ways that I know to get this thing pretty toasty is trying to play games on it. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start up a modded version of Diablo called Chernobog, and it just extends some of the original quests, that sort of thing. But it does get this thing toasty. So now the main laptop fans are kicking in, unsurprisingly. So we're getting it around 80 degrees, 90, 91. So we're holding steady at around 90 degrees. So let's go ahead and turn on the iPow fan. And we're going to turn all the fans on at maximum. And it would appear that there is a minor cooling effect, but I suspect that this would have greater impact if you had a gaming laptop that was full of holes on the bottom anyway, that would kind of accept that airflow. The bottom of an X220, while it does have places for venting, it does most of that venting around the CPU, which is around the escape key. That being said, it is not getting above 90 with this thing turned on. The internal fans are running at 4,400 RPM, and that is certainly making some racket. But this seems to be, at the very least, staying playable. Before, it would get over 100 degrees, and then that would be that. It just would not, wouldn't function correctly. This is still doing okay. Leveling up on a track point. That's a thing that just happened. Alright, so the hottest I can get it with the fan, the iPow fan turned on, is about 94. At least with this initial test, it would appear, with all the fans running, that the differences are, at least with this laptop, fairly negligible. I suspect that if we had a machine that had holes cut in the bottom everywhere to actually force that air in, it would make all the difference in the world. However, I think that just goes to show that not every aftermarket cooling solution is going to work with every single laptop, and this is kind of the pinnacle point of that. So I've got what would be the hottest components of this machine pretty much placed over one of these 6 fans. And again, it's not making a significant difference in that performance. And ultimately, I think that comes down to where the holes are cut in the machine. So if we look at the bottom, we have a few small air vents here, but by and large, there is not a whole lot of place for ingress in this particular area, maybe with the exception of that heat sink. So I think if you're planning on cooling a laptop with this, it's got to be one that has room for those fans to actually do their job. I don't want to say that this thing doesn't do what it sets out to do, because I believe that it does. I just think that you need the right computer to actually do it. At any rate, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed this sort of content, and if you would like to see more, I would ask you to do the big 4. Please like the video, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so the next time I release a video like this, you'll be the first to know about it. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.